Thank you so much. I had a little problem unmuting. I'm very delighted this evening, to be with you and to have a time to talk to you. It is always my pleasure to share, and I'm very glad to again embark on our chapter 28 of Exodus. And there's a question that arose last week that today we are supposed to look at it. And it's all about dressing. What is the most appropriate way to dress? We say that we are a chosen generation and we are a royal priesthood. How then should we dress? How then should we look like? Should we have a special attire? Should we look differently before people as we minister as priests to the Lord? The question of dressing is really broad. And we have many thoughts about dressing. But I am happy for one thing. When we read from the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 31, 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 31, the Bible is speaking to us and telling us something very interesting that is a guideline to us. And I read it. Wherefore, whether therefore ye eat or drink, or whatsoever ye do, do all to the glory of God. So what is that? Everything that we do should be to the glory of God. We should glorify God in all that we do. Therefore, if we eat or drink, even in our dressing, in all we do, we should do everything, I like that, everything for the glory of God. So everything we do should not be for our own glory. It should be for the glory of God. And there's something I just want to mention, that sin and dress share the same birthday. For it was after man sinned that now the issue of dressing came along. The need of the clothing came for the need of covering our nakedness. The issue of the way then we should dress, even though it's broad and we can translate it in different terms and different ways, the Bible is so clear. I know as we read the Bible, there are so many thoughts and so many ideas of how we translate it, because the differences in our beliefs come in because of the way we translate, the way we take the truth and the way we translate it to our daily life. And that is why Jesus is in Matthew chapter 6 and verse 25. Jesus is giving us an advice. Matthew chapter 6 and verse 25. And it says, this is why I tell you, don't worry about your life, what you will eat or what you will drink, or about your body, what you will wear, or what you will wear, sorry. Isn't life more than food and the body more than clothing? In speaking these words, Jesus didn't mean that we should be indifferent in our mannerism and the way we dress and the way we look like. But actually, he's trying to show us that that should not be our primary goal of thinking so much on what will we eat, what will we drink. But remember our verse, that everything we do, we should do it for the glory of God. Now, there are some things that I was looking at. I was doing some research and trying to see how God views us. Now, in the same book, in the book of Matthew chapter 6 and verse 30, Matthew chapter 6 and verse 30, God is giving us an idea of what is in his mind Wherefore, if God so clothe the grass of the field, which today is and tomorrow is cast into the oven, shall he not much more clothe you, O ye of little faith? So God is willing that he clothe us. If he really clothed, I don't know whether you have ever had a close look at a flower and see the way they look nice. Some of them look like a velvet on top. They have a very good scent. They look wonderful. They look beautiful. Yet they are meant to, they can't even stay for a day. 24 hours or more for its survival. Now, I want us to have thoughts. I want us to ask ourselves some questions. And when you ask ourselves, you'll ask yourself these questions. It will help you make decision of how you will look like or how you will choose to dress. These are the questions. Does it matter at all how you dress? Does it matter? You ask yourself this question. Does the way you dress communicate something about how you think or feel? Does it communicate how you think or feel? Does it? These questions are meant they are thought-provoking questions that are meant to help you think of how you dress. Yes. Now, another question, can people easily judge you by the way you dress and groom yourself? Can people judge you by the way you dress or groom yourself? Is one style of dressing related to our character and personality? The way you dress, does it show your character and your personality? Does the way we dress affect our attitude and confidence, or is it vice versa? Ask yourself this question. Do one's thinking style determine the manner of dressing? Does it show the way you think? Does it affect the matter and the manner of dressing? I don't know whether you're thinking about that. Does it show your mind and the way you think? The way you dress? Are there certain factors that largely influence the way we dress? Are there certain factors that largely influence the way we dress? I don't know whether you're pondering upon this. Now, another question. Imagine that God comes to visit and spend a day with you. Would you appreciate or dress code your dress code? Would you want to hide and go and look for a way to hide and put on something different from what you're wearing? Would you invite Jesus? Would you want to dress differently? Or would you want to be the same as you are dressed, or how you dress to work? If Jesus visits you in your office, in your marketplace, wherever you are, would you feel comfortable? Does God really care about our appearance? Or is he only interested with our inner man only? Because there are people who really argue on this. Does God care the way you look? Does God care about your appearance? Does a person's inward relationship to God impact in the way on which our outward appearance look like? And I repeat that. Does a person's inward relationship to God impact in a way on his outward appearance? I want you to ask yourself these questions. And as we ponder upon them, I want you to look at these statements. about dressing, then you can even tell me about your mind. How do you think about it? Now, there are these questions. There are these striking statements on dressing. Do you know this? That our dressing speak volumes as regard our character, mannerism, class, and occupation. The way you dress, it speaks volumes. So do you care how you look like? Do you care how people look at you? Our outward appearance reveal much about our heart condition, even as you choose how you dress. Your appearance speak volumes on what is inside of you. You are what you are because of how you look outwardly. The way you dress speak volumes of how you reason, how you feel. The way you look tells volumes on your mind. Our dressing defines to a large extent our relationship with God. We are not to be judgmental, but yet the way we look really tells a lot on our relationship with God. When the style of our clothes changes with the style of the world, it indicates a connection with the world. Therefore, the way you choose to dress, because this is very personal, does it show that you're a child of God, or does it show that you are in connection with the world? Now, it's also sinful to dress in a way to indicate connection to the world and to incite sexual feelings, especially to ladies. You know, sometimes when you put on a dress and you don't look sexy, someone tells you that dress is not nice. It doesn't look sexy. You need to look sexy. Really? Whenever a truth in relation to dressing is welcomed, is unwelcomed. If you hear a truth about dressing and you don't welcome it, then it will soon get lost. So that is something you need to note, that whatever God speaks to you and you realize that God is telling you something, you need to take care and take precaution and make a step, or else it will get lost. If we dress like the world, then we will be changing the church to the world and not the world to the church. So even as we make a decision on how to dress, just ask yourself, what are you contributing? Are you bringing the world to the church, or you are bringing the church to the world? And what is your portion as a royal priest? Are you meant to make the world to come into the church, or are you meant as a priest to take the world and to take the church and take it to the world? What is your part? What is your mission as a priest of God? Now, God is giving us something very special that we should always try to dress in modesty and convey to the world that we are witnessing for someone. So whenever you make a choice, because I may not make a choice for you, maybe your husband may not, your wife may not, but every time you ask yourself, what are you reflecting? Now, when it comes to dressing, I think man is the most ugly because of the way we are. And I just want to remind you that before the fall, Adam and Eve were not using the clothes that we are using today. They wore a garment of righteousness, I hope when we go to heaven, I just want to ask Jesus to so show me this garment. I'd like to see it and see the beauty of what God had made without sin. But when sin came, God had to do something else. He had to get a garment for Adam and Eve and to cover them up. Why? They now became even ugly. I'm imagining if Adam looked at someone, when Adam looked at Eve, and maybe he frowned and said, "How do you look now?" And Eve was saying, "And you, how do you look?" I'm imagining the way they ridiculed each other until they felt a need for a garment. And they went and tried to sew their own through using leaves. But God, in His grace, decided to give them a garment made from an animal skin. So we lack attractiveness when we show our nakedness. And in fact, every time we try to dress in a way that is not appropriate, there is a voice inside of you that will tell you, no, this is not the right way, please change it. But in most cases, we brush it off. How many times do you brush it off? Is the Holy Spirit speaking to you in a different way? This is a personal question. We need to thank God because He has a pattern. You know, God is a God of beauty. I know when we speak about clothing, we think that God is that naive person who wants us to put on black coats and wear long faces. Maybe like when you are a Christian, you need to be more closely related to maybe the person that I can think of who don't need to smile is an undertaker. And so sometimes when we think of Christianity, we think of dressing as an undertaker, a long coat, a long face, because God is a serious God, but I don't want to imagine that. Our God is a God of beauty. And so even as we decide to dress, we need to look beautiful, look attractive. Unfortunately, sometimes we overdo it, and that's why God reminds us that we need to be a bit moderate in our dressing. And there's something that I want us to remember, even as you think of what to dress, that there's nothing new in history. That is what Ecclesiastes tells us, that there's nothing new. Fashion keeps on repeating itself. And dress affects one's ideas about self, that the beliefs and the values. And remember, this is not new. It was there before. Now, we need to really think as we think of how to dress, because I wanted really people to also mention something on dressing. We need to ponder on these questions, on these comments. I also have spirit of prophecy comments, but because I'm seeing my time here is up, because I wanted someone to speak. Last time as we were speaking about it, there were so many people who really wanted to say something. And remember, there are so many other things that we need to look at that I didn't even mention about the psychology of dressing. Is there anything to do with the psychology of dressing? And what does the spirit of prophecy tell us about dressing? What is the suggestion of the appropriate dressing? There are also many, many Bible texts that is speaking about dressing, but I don't want to speak about them right now because my time is up. I would like to hear someone speak and someone say, what is your mind? What is your take? What do you think we should do? Do you think as Christians, because there are questions that were asked before, that what is the most appropriate garment? Maybe with what I've given up, what do you think then should be our take on how we should look as priests? Can someone say something? You can unmute. You can write your comments. Oh, sorry. I'm not clear. Can someone affirm? Can someone tell me? I'm seeing a comment.
You are very
No,
clear.
you
You
are
are very clear.
very clear.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, what is your take? Can someone come in and tell us something?
I think the explanation is very, very clear. While in the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve, have are clothed in God's glory, and when they sin, they become naked, and it's shameful. And then God organizes dresses for them. We see Noah when he gets drunk, and then he uncovers himself, and you know how some of us derived curses for looking at our naked father, but you know what happened with our other brothers who went ahead and covered their father, and nakedness has to do with sinfulness. In this country, we have a man called the Prophet War who has disciplined his followers. They have a dress code. And I see very many other Christians also who have their own kinds of dress code. Some have a dress code when they are going to church, but when it is a day other than church day, they dress in whatever kind of fashion. And some can wear long dresses, and yet they are too tight fitting, so that even the length doesn't even help because they're not dressed appropriately. Perhaps one may want to ask, what about the Seventh-day Adventist pastors? Should they wear clerical robes? What I've come to find out is that our church does not require pastors to wear any clerical robes while they are, preaching, while they're at the pulpit. And while some pastors may choose to wear robes for specific events or services, it's not required of their attire. And most Adventists do not even wear robes. But I've seen some pastors wearing robes. I remember one called Pastor Pastor Randolph Stafford. He was preaching at Kakamega. And when he came to the pulpit, he was in robes. And some of the pastors were saying, why is he wearing robes? Why is he copying, things like that? Actually, as a church, we have not come up with a specific kind of robe for people who are ministering. But we are not just talking about the pastors. What about our elders? What about our other church members when they're preaching? Should they wear robes? No. Our church does not ask us to wear robes, but they ask us to wear appropriately, modestly. When you go to the pulpit to go and preach God's word, you are not going to display your attire. You are going to present God's word. It means to be appropriately dressed so that you do not attract undue attention. But as pastors, we must wear properly. So Adventists emphasize spiritual authority over external displays and prefer a more practical and less formal approach to attire. That's what I would say for now. But ministers, just like the laity, when they are doing different kinds of work, they'll wear differently. One time in 2001, our pastors went to the coast for a retreat. And then when it was time for going to swim, some of them went into the swimming pool wearing dresses, and they were ordered out of the swimming pool because it is not proper to go wearing dresses inside a swimming pool. They're told you either have a swimsuit or don't even try to go to the swimming pool. And even when you are going to the ocean, do not go there with clothes that are going to entangle you. So it depends where you are. But I also remember when Jesus Christ appeared to the disciples, when Peter had led them back into fishing. One of the disciples, when he saw and noticed that that was Jesus Christ, he dived into water because he was naked. So obviously, we ought to look presentable wherever we are. If you invited Jesus Christ into your house, obviously, the music will have to be proper. The dress will have to be proper. You won't just be looking funny and say, well, I'm in my house. No. I've seen some people say, excuse me, I knock at the door and they say, just hold on a minute. They're going to dress properly so that when I am in the house, they are looking appropriately dressed. Thank you. That's what I'll comment for now.
Oh, thank you so much, Pastor. That's amazing. I think we need to think, and really, as we glorify God, we need to choose rightly. At times, we look odd. I'm a lifestyle coach, and sometimes I am out in the field, and I'm imagining if we could go to the field. You want to run, you want to do some exercise, and you are dressed in a long dress like I'm wearing right now. So you need to dress appropriately. However, remember our verse that in everything we need to glorify God. Even as you go to the swimming pool, you need to glorify God. Even as you go out to the field, you need to glorify God. And ask yourself this question: if Jesus was to visit me in the field, will I run to hide myself, or will I run to look for something to tie myself? Really? Uh, we need to know that God is a God of decency. And I want to make this final remarks because our time is almost up. Do
Sellah.
not let fashion. Yes? Someone wants to say something?
Yes, I don't know whether anybody has noticed Pastor Randy's kit, the way he dresses. In any occasion he has gone. I don't know whether somebody has, maybe it's only me who admire the way he puts his, he chooses his dressing on occasions of preachings. I admire that man so much. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Someone is being admired. You said Pastor Randy's kid?
Yes, Pastor Randy's kit.
Oh, yeah, he's admirable, sure, true. Yes. Is someone with a comment again? And as you unmute?
I can see Mr. Otim and
Oh,
Elder Ochado have raised their hands. I'm sure they want to speak.
oh, yes, you're welcome.
Muted, okay. So, Sister Stella, thanks for the sharing. I think, just as you said, you did have enough time to complete your whatever you have prepared. Is it possible that, like you said, you have spirit of prophecy text? Is it possible that you just share them so that we go and read on our own, especially the spirit of prophecy, what the spirit of prophecy says about rest?
Thank you, Brother Maranga. I think we need to go into that. I don't know what was, I didn't hear you rightly. What was your suggestion? Should we do what?
He's suggesting that you present the spirit of prophecy quotations, maybe so that this online congregation can go and read the quotations on their own.
Maybe if we do it by writing, or maybe in another way, because our time is up. We're supposed to finish in 5 minutes time, and I may not be able to.
You can present it in the WhatsApp group.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, that's better. I think for the interest of time, I just want to make my final remarks. Man, this is my final remarks. Do not let fashion own and manage you. Instead, manage the fashion. Every time, don't let the fashion manage you. I know this is for the ladies. We have a problem. Every time we want to know what is on the market and what fashion is giving us. So in fact, they say this, that style is what you choose, but fashion is what you are offered by many times in the year by the designers. So the designers are out to design something, and many a times we get sucked into the fashion, and then we want to do what the designers are telling us. But remember this, fashion fades, but style is eternal. Fashion will always fade, but what is inside of you is style. So it will be everlasting, it will never fade. So, and I am sure that if you stick to this, then you'll have a sober mind to decide. You'll always, if you have the Spirit of God, because God says that we are the temple of the Holy Spirit. We therefore need to listen to the Spirit every time you dress. And I want to give you also a formula. And every time you go to the market to buy a garment, kindly pray that God gives you the right one. From the color, the taste, the design, please pray that God gives you the right one so that you may choose that which will glorify you. Because remember the comment I made that whatever you put on tells volume about you. Remember, we are priests. We need to tell the world that we belong to a King of Kings and Lord of Lords. But this King of Kings is a beautiful God, is an adorable God. On the other hand, we need also not to be judgmental, as in you are out to look at the outward only. For God says he's not so much interested in the outward, but that does not mean that we should not clothe appropriately. But with what 1 Peter 3 and verse 4, we are not going to read it, but what it tells us is that we need to care much more of the inner man. But the outward man also, the inner man will also reflect. By the way, the inner man is responsible for the dressing of the outward man. So if you decorate your inner man, your outward man will automatically be beautiful, and the inner man will guide the outer man. Therefore, your decisions, your choices will be determined by the inner man, and you will glorify God in your dressing. I'm looking forward to maybe sharing again on the spirit of prophecy, as we've said, so that we can make choices on how we should dress, regardless of where we come from, our background, our traditions, because we know we are a diversity of believers. There are people from the East. We are Africans. There are people from the West. We need to make choices so that we glorify God, because you cannot force an Indian to dress like an African. You cannot force someone else to dress like we do. But there is the Spirit of God that guides us, and shows us the right way. That the Spirit of God does not err. The Spirit of God is right every time. And every time you hear the still small voice speaking to you, kindly hearken unto it, listen to it, and turn your ways so that you do what pleases God. And may God bless you so, so much.